guys, welcome back to Ashire Books. First, I just want to say I'm very sorry there hasn't been a video for a couple of weeks. It was not intentional. First, I had some family in town, so I was busy with that. And then I got sick with a cold, or what I thought was a cold, turned into bronchitis, and I basically just could not talk for longer than 5 minutes without coughing. So, couldn't really do a video when having that issue. So I'm feeling a little bit better. So I wanted to go ahead and do a recent reads because I feel like it's been a while since I did one, and I have read quite a few books in the meantime. So I'm gonna go through all the books that I've read, but some of them I'm just gonna kind of go through a little bit quicker, the ones that maybe just didn't stick out as much to me. But they are all, of course, also listed in Goodreads. So if you're interested, you can always follow me on Goodreads. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the books. The first two books I want to talk about are actually Christmas books, and they were actually sent to me by the Read Bliss team on a project that I'm doing with them that will probably go up a little bit closer to Christmas. But I really enjoyed both of them, and I don't have them with me because I actually lent them to my mom because she wanted some holiday reads. So the first one was An Alaskan Christmas by Jennifer Snow, I believe. I'll obviously put pictures up for you guys. This one was really cute. It's about a doctor who is definitely a workaholic in Alaska, in Anchorage, in like a big hospital there, and her job is her life, and she basically is forced to take some time off, and she goes home to her small town in Alaska where she was raised. In this town, she kind of has to come to terms with her best friend that she hasn't seen in a really long time, as well as her best friend's brother, who they knew each other and had kind of a moment when they were younger, but definitely weren't like together. So I just really enjoyed it. I love that it was not just a romance. Of course, that was cute as well, but it really was about our main character figuring out kind of her priorities, and that maybe being a workaholic and doing nothing but like sleeping at her job and everything was the answer. I really liked the friendship in it, and it was really, really cute, and I gave that one 5 stars. The second Christmas book I read was Christmas from the Heart by Sheila Roberts. This book was really adorable, and the best way I can kind of describe it is it really felt like a Christmas Hallmark movie. I am a huge fan of Hallmark movie and Hallmark Channel, especially around this time of year, and I really think it felt like that. So it follows our main character who runs a not-for-profit called Christmas from the Heart, and at the beginning of the book, one of the big corporations that always give a lot of money to this charity decides not to, or they give like a very small amount, and the man in charge of that is our hero. And so obviously our heroine kind of takes it a little personally when they don't give the amount of money they should have. This book had a lot of different kind of like tropes in it. There was like a mistaken identity, forced proximity, the two characters come together. I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars, I believe. The only thing I didn't love was it was obviously a little predictable, and I think sometimes the choices that both characters made on just like being a little judgmental about each other kind of did get a little annoying, but I did listen to the audiobook for this as well, and I really enjoyed that. So if you want some Christmas spirit and one just really sweet like novel, I definitely would recommend it. The next book I read was The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. I had this one from the library, but I have thus returned it, or already returned it, and this one was so cute. I love a good Tessa Dare book. They're always funny, they're always sweet, and also very like steamy. So this one was no different. It's her newest release, and basically our heroine in this book is a huge animal lover, and she has all these animals at her house, and her new neighbor is a man who has a lot of money now, but he did not grow up that way. He's definitely a self-made man, but he bought this house to kind of like, I think like redo and sell it, and he does not want all these animals all around the place. So they kind of make this deal where he's gonna help her to find a good home for a lot of the animals that she is taking care of. It was so funny. Like, if you want a historical romance with some steam and a really good romance, but also like laugh out loud funny, I definitely recommend this one. All of her books are funny, but this one in particular just had me like laughing out loud while reading it. So definitely recommend. It was such a lighthearted book, but also really like, I don't know, deep in a way. It really hit all the boxes for me, you know what I mean? So loved it, gave that one 5 stars. The next book I read was another historical romance called Striking Love by Lindsay Brooks. And this one was fabulous. So Lindsay was nice enough to send me a copy of her book, and this is her debut romance, her debut book. And it was fabulous. If you guys would like a historical romance or just romance in general that has a lot of feminism in it and just like girl power and a good romance. I highly recommend it. So this book takes place, I believe it was in the late 1890s in New York, and a lot of the book has to do with Sarah, our main character, who's a working class woman in a factory, and her fighting for and leading movements in a strike about better working conditions for working class women and people in general, but specifically women in these factories, because at the time they were deplorable. And it's a kind of time in history and kind of movement I wasn't too familiar with, and I loved how the author kind of immersed us in this world. And as a history lover, I really loved it. It was a great balance between the romance and the real kind of hardships and things that she was fighting for. Sarah was just the best heroine. She was kick butt. She fought for what she believed in, and she had a lot of hardships. So the romance is between her and a man named Cliff, who actually is in politics in New York, very high up in society. So obviously there was a lot of roadblocks there that they kind of had to fight through. Overall, it was just a really good romance. It blew me away that it was her debut novel. Love was just one of those books that I've been thinking about so much since I finished it. Needless to say, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Also, my main character was Jewish, which I really enjoyed, just having that diversity in a book and kind of learning more about the traditions and things like that, and New York at that time. It was really interesting and I loved it. Next, I read A Promise of Darkness by Beck McMaster, thus kind of sending me down the bit of a like fae rabbit hole. So Promise of Darkness is a fantasy romance. I definitely say it's a fantasy romance. There's very heavy on the romance. That had a lot of A Court of Thorns and Roses vibes, and to me also had a lot of like Hades and Persephone kind of situations. I feel like this one is really good to go in not knowing too much, because I didn't know too much. I just love this cover, which I will put up, and I just dove in and it was the best decision ever. But basically our main character is sent to kind of they're enemies, but they like work together. Her mother's like the queen and he is another one of the like kings in the area, and she kind of is traded to him for 3 months in order to get something he wants, supposedly. There's a lot of twists and turns in this book, a lot of things, some I saw coming and some I didn't. I'm being kind of vague on purpose here, but I highly recommend this. If you want a fantasy romance that's got just the most heart, the most like steaminess, I really recommend this one. It was so good and I definitely want to continue. I know she's gonna write more, I believe, in this series, so I'm all on board. The next one I read was 10 Things I Love About You by Julia Quinn. This one I really enjoyed. I mean, is it a month if I don't read a Julia Quinn book? I don't think so. So in this book, you have our main character who is kind of in a bad situation. She really needs to marry well for her family, and she is kind of being not forced, but kind of to marrying this older, horrible man who she does not want to marry, but she needs funds. And she meets another man who it turns out perhaps is this man's nephew and named Sebastian, and it's kind of their love story. I really enjoyed this book. I listened to this one on audiobook as well, and it was great. Julia Quinn can just do no wrong. I think that her books are always funny. They always have a lot of heart, and they kind of, Julia Quinn's books can cheer me up like nothing else. So if you're in like a rut or a weird mood, or you don't know what to read, pick up this book. Also, this is book 3 in this series. I think it's like the Belvistoke series. I do plan on going back and reading 1 and 2. I have book 2, which I do really love because some of the characters were mentioned in this one. I just am incapable of picking up books in the correct order. But to me, I think it can be read as a standalone. I thought it was fine. But if you're really picky, just want to throw that out there. This is the 3rd book. So if you want to, maybe go back and read book 1 first. The last book I want to talk about is actually like a few books, and that is Faye's Captive by, who was it by? Lily Archer. So I saw Melissa from Melissa H talking about this series on one of her videos, and I'm like, that looks intriguing. So I downloaded it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Each book, I read the first 4 because they're all about the same couple, and they're all only like 120 pages, so really quick reads. I read all 4. I am not going to go through all 4 of them, but I'll kind of talk about the first one. Basically, our female lead is taken captive, that's the title, by this Well, she's not taken captive. Basically, she's taken from she's in college, her college dorm, and sent to this fae world where she meets our hero, and he is like instantly like, oh, that's my mate. And it kind of goes from there. It sounds a little corny, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of was, but in like the best way. I blew through all 4 of these. They were so intriguing, and I actually thought the writing was really well done. I love these characters, and it was basically their story about like their struggle and being together, and her being like, who are you, crazy person? And he being like, no, I'm like the one for you. And if you want something that's like fantasy romance, but like really quick and just like so much fun, I highly recommend these. I thought they were a lot of fun, and I've seen a couple other people reading them recently, and I don't blame them because they were a lot of fun. Alright guys, so those are the books I'm going to talk about in this recent reads. I have read a couple others, but I think I'm going to talk about them in my next video just because this one's getting a little long. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of these. Is there any that you've read or that intrigue you a little bit? Let me know. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!